Hello, my name is Jason JROCK Houston. You guys are listening to an interview being done for Under the Influence. It's my great pleasure to be speaking with JROCK Kaye. And Jack, the reason we're talking to you tonight is you're a founding member and guitar player from Children of the Grave, which is a awesome tribute to Black Sabbath. So no further ado, could you share with us, I guess the best place to start this interview off is if you could share with us how you first got into the music of Black Sabbath and became a fan.
Well, hello, Jason. How are you? And for everybody out there, I've been a huge Sabbath fan since the 70s. So I think the second album is like the album that really got me really interested in Black Sabbath. And, when a couple of members and I, back in 2004, we decided, we were all just really into Black Sabbath. And I think we really wanted to go after it. There wasn't that many tribute bands out there at the time in 2004 that were in Black Sabbath, and we really wanted to go all the way. There's a band called Led Zeppelin out there, and they're really great because they do the full role playing.
Yeah.
They look like Led Zeppelin on stage. So we wanted to go for that Black Sabbath look of the 70s, and for me it was, I didn't really have to try very hard. I mean, I love Tony Iommi, and he's my mentor. It was just like I felt like I lived and breathed Tony Iommi every time I'd play guitar. So that's what really started it off.
It's funny you say that because I was going to ask you. A lot of these tribute bands, that's a big part of it, is dressing up like the band and really trying to get the look down as much as the sound. And when I look at the photos of you, Jack, on your Facebook page, I was thinking to myself, man, this guy looks so much like Tony Iommi to begin with. I mean, how much of that is your actual look as opposed to you, actually putting on like a costume and getting dressed up as, say, Tony Iommi?
That's me.
Wow, that's amazing. Because I mean, again, wow, looking at the pictures, I would have sworn that was Tony Iommi, back in the 70s, back, in his heyday.
I mean, to be honest with you, Jason, I'm just a regular guy off stage. I grow a mustache a month ahead of time or so before the gig. We would book the gigs a month in advance, and I'd grow my mustache. I don't wear a mustache all the time, so, it wasn't hard to really tribute, but my focus on that was just like, hey, there's so many bands out there that say they're a tribute band, and they play the music really good if you close your eyes, but when you look at the band, they don't have the look, and so, it really depends on the audience, if they really want the band to look like it or if they're okay with just the sound. But I think, for me, it was like pushing the envelope a little higher and going for a higher reach for the look and for the style and the sound effects that are used, and everything and we really use the studio recordings as a blueprint.
And it's interesting because, again, tribute bands typically go one of two ways. Like a lot of the ones I've seen, they do go the extra mile trying to look like the band and sound like the band. And I really dig those bands because for a lot of people, I've been to a lot of these tribute shows, like in your case, it might, somebody might come to see a Children of the Grave show, and you're taking them back to the first time maybe they heard Black Sabbath on the radio, but very first time they, went to a Black Sabbath concert, and that's the cool thing about this. And I can tell you from my own experience, first time I seen this Guns N' Roses tribute out here in Los Angeles called Hollywood Rose. I mean, the show was at the Whiskey, so I realized, okay, this is a tribute show, but I had to pinch myself for a minute because, the singer looked that much like Axl Rose from 1987. And I thought, oh, wow, is this a Guns N' Roses show for what? Of course, I knew I was at a tribute show, but they were that good. And I thought, for a minute, this is probably as close I'm ever going to get to seeing Axl and Slash on stage ever again, But it was a magical night for me, And so if you can give, your audience that kind of experience, I think it's a great thing.
Well, I think the most rewarding thing for me in the band, and it's went through several changes. We can discuss that later.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think the most rewarding thing for me is when someone from the audience comes and they go, "Wow, you just brought me back to 19 1973. I was at a concert and saw, I was there to see early Black Sabbath in '73, and I swear, when I watched your band, Children of the Grave, and I heard the music, you brought me back, and I had goosebumps. And that to me is the most rewarding thing for them to do that. And even sometimes we'll get someone that comes up and requests a song, and it happens to be on our set list, and when we do it, and the people just, they just go nuts, just love it. So.
And let me ask you, Jack, because again, Black Sabbath has been through many incarnations, but I'm imagining that your guys' set list pretty much just consists of stuff from the albums with Ozzy. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's the Ozzy era, and the very tail end of to Never Say Die, which is 77, 78, and that was pretty much it. Ozzy was out of the band, so it's everything from there back to 1970, and the look that I try to put across to the audience is like 69, 70 clothing, because later, what I plan to do with Children of the Grave in the future was to have, costume changes within the sets, because, there's at least 40 tunes that Children of the Grave does, so I was going to split that up into, 3 sets, but, that's such a big ordeal to take place, so, our sets are usually 90 minutes or less, so, and we're all, so there's no time to really change costumes, so that would be like 69 to 70.
Wow. And let me ask you, what area do you guys typically play in? Because, I've been reading a little bit about you on your Facebook page and some information you sent me and getting prepared for this. And I'm living in the Los Angeles area, and I'm aware of a lot of the tribute bands that play out here. But I haven't seen a lot of ads as far as you guys playing in this area. Where do you guys play out a lot, or what's the area you kind of play out in?
Yeah, from the beginning, 2004, all the way up to about 2000, I want to say 10 or so, I think we hit Los Angeles a couple of times, and down here in San Diego more than.
Oh, okay.
More of the members lived in San Diego. I'm from Los Angeles.
Oh, okay.
But there was a lot of opportunities down here, more than in Los Angeles.
Oh, wow.
I ended up playing down here, and currently, I'm working on a new COTG recording demo that I'm going to, and I'm in the middle of networking with other tribute bands that are like me and like Children of the Grave. They're into the role playing, and they dress the part to look like the band that they're tributing, and playing the gigs with Atomic Punks with Ralph and them back in 2009.
Oh, yeah.
Playing with the Iron Maidens. Of course, they're a female band, but they were awesome to play with. And playing with there was a band. I'm trying to remember the Rolling Stones tribute called Jumpin' Jack Flash, I think. But anyway, I remember playing with those two bands, Atomic Punks and Jumpin' Jack Flash. We all were dressing the part.
Wow.
So when the audience would come to me later on, and they'd say, you know what, this was the best night of tribute I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Every band dressed like the band, and they sounded like the band of the era they were tributing. And I was just like, wow. And I got goosebumps from them telling me that. So
well,
I was on a natural high.
Well, I'm glad to hear you've had those kind of experiences, because again, Jack, if if I knew where you're playing, I would definitely want to come and check out one of your shows. It's just I really haven't seen you guys in the area where I live, which is down here in Long Beach, but I travel to Hollywood or somewhere like that. But it's interesting you bring up Ralph and the Atomic Punks, because reason I started doing these interviews with guys like you that play in the tribute bands is, number one, I've been to a lot of tribute shows. I enjoy it immensely. I can't really say I've seen a bad one yet, although I'm sure there are a couple of them out there. But Ralph is a great example, because if you look at the Atomic Punks, they were one of the first premier tributes out here in LA, and they're kind of one of the first bands that started, along with the Iron Maidens. And interesting thing about Ralph is he had briefly left Atomic Punks to go do L.A. Guns, but he was making more money, doing a Van Halen tribute than he was when he was playing with Tracy Guns, which I just, and then now he's doing Steel Panther. He's got to be laughing all the way to the bank, because Steel Panther is kind of a tribute band in the sense it's a tribute to the 80s, but it's original music, so, he's kind of got that little spiel going for him now, which I think is a cool little thing as well. And the other guys in the band just rock as much as he does.
Well, you know what? I think the money is, good and everything.
Yeah.
For me, for me it was like really easy to play Black Sabbath.
Yeah.
I love their music so much, and I'm like, wow, could I tribute Tony Iommi? Could I find a Geezer Butler? Could I find a Bill Ward? Could I find an Ozzy Osbourne or a John Osbourne?
Yeah.
Could I find members that would be interested in portraying the early version of these guys,
mm-hmm.
And not be all, Metallica out.
Yeah.
And you know what I mean.
Yeah.
I'm not doing a '90s Black Sabbath.
Yeah.
The reunion was great. When I saw Black Sabbath, the original members at the Forum of LA in '99, that's when Dimebag, when Pantera opened for him.
Yeah.
That was, were you there?
Oh, I didn't get a chance to go. I wish I would have, but I heard about it, and I seen stuff up on the internet about it at the time. So yeah, I'm well aware of what you're talking about.
Anyway, it was the most spectacular show that I ever saw. But it was a '90s version, a '90s look, and so I've always wanted to be an actor. This is my time to be an actor, and so to get people that are top-notch musicians and also want to tribute and be a character, and also play the music, it's not really everyone's cup of tea, I guess, Well, I can play the music, so anyway, I think that, going the full route and, I think really gives a lot to the audience, and I think they really remember it more, at least in my experience.
Yeah, and the thing about Black Sabbath, too, that, is very interesting is, typically in bands, people think the lead singer writes all the music, and, in Black Sabbath's case, especially on those early albums, Tony and Geezer were coming up with all the riffs, and I think even Geezer Butler, the bass player, he was the main songwriter, not Ozzy Osbourne, and that's why if you listen to Black Sabbath albums with Ozzy and you listen to Ozzy's solo albums, they sound like two totally different, worlds, because, Ozzy's smart and that he surrounds himself with very, talented musicians, these days in a solo band, but that's why if you listen to Black Sabbath, it's very different sound than what he's doing, in a solo band, because, Geezer and Tony wrote all that stuff.
Correct. I always say, and a lot of people say, Tony Iommi is the riff master.
Yeah.
Master of riffs. And so, I think a lot of their music, like read in their history, and I'm into their music. I also want to know the history of Black Sabbath, and I'm thinking, and it's funny because a lot of bands do this and don't even know it, but guitar player, and then here comes the drums and the bass, the vocal, and then the vocals start to mess around, and hey, you got a song. So I mean, I think a lot of that early stuff wasn't really thought out. It was just like, hey, jam. Now it's we come up with the Black name and everything. I think that early on, when they were doing blues and jazz and stuff, of their before they were Black Sabbath.
Yeah, and a lot of people credit. Yeah, and a lot of people credit Tony Iommi with for the creation of heavy metal because of the way he plays guitar. A lot of people may or may not know. Early on, he had an accident when he was a teenager, and he lost the tips of his fingers. That's why he plays the guitar the way he does. Right. So, with that being said, does that make it that much harder to learn how to play these tunes because they're not your typical guitar riffs?
I think the nuances and things that I like to listen to of Tony, obviously I don't wear the little prosthesis on my feet or anything.
No, but you know what I mean. Yeah.
I do use the skin of my fingers against the string to get that certain bite.
Yeah, yeah.
Certain bite that you need. Plus the the instruments I use and and the amplification and everything. But it's a certain way that you play the guitar to get that Tony Iommi sound.
Yeah,
with
yeah.
your fingers, and so I think that just came kind of easy for me, and I'm like, hey, yeah, that's it. That's it.
Wow, wow.
Just keep doing that. Just keep doing that, okay? And see what other people like it, And so I think that's where it started off in 2004, and it's been going like that for 11 years, And the band's going to be out there again. I'm concentrating more on getting a demo and getting it out again. We have a 3-song that was done back in 2006.
Wow.
It's still on the MySpace page,
Wow.
before Facebook was out. And
wow.
so, I mean, but I did post Wicked World from a gig that we did last year. I posted that on your page. And
Oh, yeah, that's the one I was talking about, man. It just, I mean, I was so, I was like, just looking at it, like, man, I want to go see one of these guys, I want to go to one of these shows, because it looks so authentic. It looks like so back in the day. And you do look so like Tony Iommi. So what was the hardest part about putting the band together? Was just, like were these guys you knew, or did you kind of go out and have to audition them and find them?
No. The original guys, the drummer, John, and Rob, the bass player, we had been playing music together. We had known each other kind of like a couple of members or so of Black Sabbath back in the early days.
Wow.
They all lived in Birmingham, and they all knew each other and went to school together or whatever, And, the funny thing about it was that, Rob, John, and I, we kind of said, hey, what, we're really into Black Sabbath. Let's put it together,
Yeah.
Let's see what happens. Let's put it out for a frontman vocalist. And several calls later, a guy comes into our studio by the name of Jeremy, and that's the first on the Facebook page, Children of the Grave, Facebook.com, Children of the Grave Sabbath. So that's the link, to go if you ever want to see it and read and there's a beginning, there's a history from 2004 to 2015 with photos and descriptions, There's a description for each photo. So three of us were just very excited, to do it, and it came off like we were the members of Black Sabbath. So I think that's what was a big part was we were all fans, huge fans.
Yeah, I was noticing that because the other day it was kind of confusing me, and then I thought, oh, wait a minute, this is just kind of, to really make it look like, they're from that era. 'Cause it says like hometown Birmingham, United Kingdom. I thought this guy's not from the United Kingdom, but that's kind of a cool thing that you guys are trying to be as authentic as possible. And then you're telling me, Jack earlier, but also you have another kind of side project where you do an instrumental kind of tribute to Tony Iommi, which I think is a very cool sounding thing. Is this more of a recording project, or do you guys plan to get out there and do some live shows? Because I think people could really get into a project like that.
Are you talking about Jack Sabbath?
Yeah, that's the project. I was wondering. So is that like just a recording project where you want to record some music, or are you guys going to go out and do some live shows, or you have to get a band together first?
This is me soloing.
Oh, cool.
With drums and bass on tracks. Geezer Butler and Bill Ward style drumming.
Cool.
And sound effects in there, like the cough at the beginning of Sweet Leaf, like we do in Children of the Grave, and the air raid siren for War Pigs at the beginning. I do rhythm, and I also have rhythm tracks. So when I go to do a solo, and what I do is it's an instrumental version of Black Sabbath. No one's ever done it before. Jack Sabbath is probably the only rock act that Kaye is doing vocal melodies on guitar with Rokk.
Wow. And to me, the cool thing about a project like Jack Sabbath here, Jack, is a simple fact that a lot of times these tribute bands, I think you have to have a little niche. And like you and me were talking earlier before we started doing this interview, there's 500,000 Black Sabbath tributes already out there. So if you have something like Jack Sabbath, where these are instrumental versions of the songs, you're already offering something a little extra to the audience than they're getting if they go see one of the other Sabbath tributes. So I think that's a very smart thing on your part.
And to me, I encourage the audience to sing the vocals.
Yeah, all of that.
They want to sing
yeah.
the vocals, and they want to come up front. I'll have extra microphones sticking out from the stage and let them sing. I mean, that's fine with me, but I do all the vocal melodies that Ozzy would be singing, and I do those all on guitar because I've been doing these songs for 11 years, and I can hear Ozzy's vocal nuances and his vocal sounds of the way he sings, and I try to bring that out with the wah pedal. And wah pedal being so expressive, if you think of Guns N' Roses, then you think of Slash, the way he plays the wah pedal.
Yeah.
Or you think of Jimi Hendrix, the way he really enhances the wah pedal sound.
Okay.
So I try to bring out that wah pedal with Ozzy's vocals.
Wow.
I don't know if it's everybody's cup of tea to hear an instrumental version of Black Sabbath, but it's something new that I've been starting with, and I've been working on it for a few years, trying to do the instrumental thing. Now, I was going to have a side project with other members, and have a vocalist and have Jack Sabbath just as a band. You just dressed up like rock and roll guys, and got on stage and just played Black Sabbath music. And then I decided, you know what? I think I just want to do this on my own.
Yeah.
And do it all instrumental and do something that no one's ever attempted.
Yeah, yeah. As we sit here talking, another idea just popped in my head that would kind of be cool. I think, you can decide for yourself. But how cool would it be like if you had a Children of the Grave show? You come out maybe either towards the end of a show or maybe even kind of to open up for yourself. As Jack Sabbath, and you kind of do a couple instrumental versions, and then you introduce the rest of the band. Say, okay, and now we'd like to welcome you to Children of the Grave, and the rest of the band kind of walks out, and you kind of you just go into the full-blown show. I think that'd be a cool thing, kind of way to open the show.
That'd be really cool. The other thing I was really interested in doing in the future is opening or whatever, or closing or playing with other like-minded tribute bands that are instrumental bands, like say a Satriani tribute or a Steve Vai tribute or something like that, where it was all instrumental music. And so you've got like Steve Vai, Satriani, and Sabbath,
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that because, a couple of years ago, maybe about 4 or 5 years ago, there's this guy in the LA area. He did a great Joe Satriani tribute, called it Surfing with the Alien, but I don't think he's around anymore. I haven't heard what happened to him. I've been trying to find, but if you could find a guy like that, that would be a great thing. So how far are you with the launching of Jack Sabbath? Hello?
Say again, I'm sorry.
Well, I was curious. How far are you to trying to launch this Jack Sabbath band? Like trying to get your first show together. Is it a matter of you have to rehearse a little bit more and get all the tunes down?
Yeah, I'm honing the craft.
Well, you're off to a great start. So.
I've been so used to having a full band, the drums and the bass and putting the rhythm guitar in where it's needed, not through the whole songs, but where it's only needed where I'm playing lead.
Yeah.
I think that's the part where, I'm working more on working more on the vocal instrumental melodies, making sure everything's right. I'm not in a hurry to get it out there.
No.
It's gonna.
Yeah.
When it does, it's gonna explode.
Yeah, as you say, when the time is right, you'll know. And again, I just want to encourage you to kind of go forward with it, because Jack, just talking to you, I think you're the one guy that could do it. I mean, again, you just look the part, and and you got that sound. I mean, I'm basing this on the video you posted on my site, and so just looking at that, I could tell, somebody go, I know if I was to go see a Jack Sabbath show, I could get into a show like that myself, and as far as digging it, because it's like nothing that is out there right now. Again, I think these tribute bands are great, but when there's half a dozen Black Sabbath tribute bands, you have to have something a little special, something a little extra, and when you do, I mean that's what works for a band like Iron Maiden. Okay, they're a great Iron Maiden tribute band, but if I close my eyes and I don't even the fact that it's an all-girl band, that's great. That's kind of like a selling point. But man, that singer, she sounds as good as Bruce Dickinson, and so the fact that they're all female, that's an extra selling point. But they got a little extra something, different for fans to go to their shows.
They are the most wonderful girls that I've ever spoken with. I mean, the thing about it is everybody is really humble and really fun to talk to. And, when you're off stage, you're just like an audience. There isn't any, there isn't any ego. You're just having fun, and then when they come up to you, what's really fun for me is when they come up with, "Can I get a picture with you? Can I get a picture with you?"
Yeah.
And I think awesome. I love doing that. I love doing that. I love being with the people. Like I said earlier, about Children of the Grave, bringing people back to when they saw the original Black Sabbath.
Yeah.
That's really what I was going after.
Mm-hmm.
To get some of the audience people, and they tell me that, and I say, that's what I'm looking for. That's what I'm going after. Okay, I'm so glad that we brought you back 30 or 40 years, whatever, and so, oh, by the way, for those tribute bands out there that want to look like the 70s, all you need to do is go to a thrift store once in a while and find some really cool clothes.
And that's the thing, too, about doing early Black Sabbath. I mean, these weren't really fancy clothes that they got dressed up in. I mean, the clothing looked, pretty cheap. So that's a great thing about doing a band like that. Now, of course, a lot of people, we know you're playing in a tribute band, Jack, but you must get occasionally people that, come to your shows, have no idea that, oh, hey, Tony, have you ever been mistaken for a man yourself, or anybody come up thinking you were him?
I've been to a few, a few get-togethers and things, all of that stuff. And once in a while, someone will think I'm him.
Because, it's funny, to you and me, maybe.
And I'll say, no, he's my mentor.
Yeah. It's funny, you and me may laugh about something like that, but because we know what Tony Iommi looks like these days, and he looks a little different than he did back in his heyday, but there are people out there that are Black Sabbath fans that maybe, they haven't been following what Black Sabbath is doing. They may just think they look the same. People kind of fall off the radar, but, and of course, recently they announced they're going on their farewell tour. What do you think about that?
Well, I really, when they did the 13 thing, and there wasn't any Ward in there playing bass, excuse me.
Drums.
There wasn't any Ward playing drums, no Bill.
Yeah.
And I started to hear about his health and everything. I mean, in 99, he had a heart attack in 99,
Yeah.
He still did the tour. When you're a true Black Sabbath fan from the early days, and you're used to all the original members, and Tony Iommi has been through so many, vocalists and bass players and drummers and vocalists and artists all through the years, and he still called the band Black Sabbath.
Yeah.
And for someone that's a purist like me, I guess I just was like, no, it's not.
Yeah.
Tony Iommi and such and such.
Yeah.
Whatever. So, but whatever. That was his deal. I'm on my, I was on my third bass player, third vocalist, and third drummer, for Children of the Grave. So, you go through changes.
Yeah.
People want to go off and do the projects, but that's why I'm the founder since 2004. So
Yeah.
I guess I'm the founder and the band leader, and and everybody needs to know what they need to bring to the table. When they're doing a full-on tribute. And I can't say enough for for Led Zeppelin again. Because Swan and those guys have been doing it for such a long time. I know they got a different guitar player since I don't know if their guitar player's been with them that long, but the band's been in existence for a couple of decades.
Yeah, an interesting thing about
I know two members, but they went through members like Children of the Grave. But the thing is, they stick to one thing, and that is, let's dress up, let's do the costumes, let's get as close as we can to their look. And I've always said, if everybody could do 90% of the band you're tributing and do all the signature riffs that need to be there that are in those songs and dress the part, you've got a package.
Yeah, Led Zeppelin. I'm glad you brought that band up because actually I had an opportunity a couple of years ago to interview Swan. If you hit the link I sent you the other day to my site, you can check that out. But when I interviewed him, he was telling me this great story about Robert Plant. Actually was so impressed with the tribute that they do that they were invited to that Celebration Day show that they did in London a few years ago, that they filmed that DVD for and recorded the CD. And he says, and that was really impressive to me because back in the 80s, Plant was he used to call David Coverdale Whitesnake David cover version because he thought he was such a clone of him. So for these guys to get that kind of response from the man himself, Robert Plant, I mean, that says just to me how great of a band they are.
Well, that's one that always sticks in my mind because when you think about a solo artist, like say Alice Cooper or Elvis or Elton John, the rest of the band really doesn't need to look like the artist because the one that needs to look like it is the
Yeah.
You're dealing with Black Sabbath. All the members are equal.
Yeah.
All the members need to look like Black Sabbath, not just Ozzy, or not just Tony.
Yeah.
With the drummer, everybody. It's you've got more to work with. All the members need to. You got to do your homework.
Yeah.
You got to do your homework.
Yeah.
If you want to be a cover band doing tribute, then put that in your ad. That, hey, we're doing a gig and we're such and such and we're a tribute to blah, 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 but, I like, when I go to see a tribute band, I like to see band the way it was when the original band was tributing those years. I want to see the people look like that.
Yeah,
and not everybody can look like the artists, not everybody can do that,
Yeah, but I mean, you can get as close as you possibly can, and that's why I tell people, I call this like rock and roll theater, because to me, when I go to see a show like Children of the Grave or even a band like Led Zeppelin, I enjoy that so much more than say a group of 4 or 5 guys getting up in their jeans and t-shirt and doing an evening of Black Sabbath. That just would not be the same experience to me.
That's key, isn't it? That's the key.
Yeah.
That's the key. The key is unlock the door. You've already listened to the music. Unlock the door and look at the visual part of it.
Yeah, and take me back.
If they can take you back.
Yeah.
Every time I can tell which bands have been working really hard on role playing and doing their homework. And getting all the nuances of all the instruments and the signature riffs are the most important thing for all the songs. And the parts that take you to another part of the song, that signature riff, where it's War Pigs, and the guitar solo comes in, and then it goes to another verse, and then after that it goes to that little break part, or even Electric Funeral, where it goes to that middle part and goes to that jam session part, and then back into the verses again. So, I mean, if you get all all those signature riffs and you get the leads right and you get the vocal melodies right. Vocal melodies have to be right if you're going to do a tribute to any band, whether it's Black Sabbath or Led Zeppelin or Guns N' Roses or whatever it is, and the icing on the cake is being able to visually bring that to the audience and them being satisfied and just really impressed of what's going on in that particular night, and then them being brought back. There's so many younger kids that have come to our shows that their parents or their grandparents were there in the 70s watching Black Sabbath or whatever, and they play the albums, or the, the vinyl.
Yeah,
and these kids are loving it, they're loving it, and they're going, wow, I got to see this band, Children of the Grave, and they look like Black Sabbath, like when my grandparents or my parents saw them,
Well, yeah. That's another thing you guys, it's great, you're keeping the legacy alive, and like we're talking about, Black Sabbath's getting ready to go on their farewell tour, so, once they play their final gig, there's going to be that much more demand for bands like, Children of the Grave. You guys will be keeping the legacy alive, as we say.
We were hoping that all of us fans for Black Sabbath, we were all really, really hoping that Bill Ward would be playing drums. We really were hoping that he would be playing drums on this tour, and I still don't know what's going on. I still don't know if he's gonna come in and he's gonna pop in, or if it's gonna be the drummer they used for 13. I guess in the back of my mind, I still have this Bill Ward, come on, play drums.
Well, especially if it's
others out there that want you to play.
Especially if it's going to be really the final time, And the thing is, I kind of think they're holding out to kind of see if they can get him to come back. I can kind of see his perspective. Why should the other three, get more money than he is when he's an original member as well. But that's, as I say.
Or the what was the other thing he was talking about? And I don't know if this is hearsay or not, but it was the written it was the written contract that he demanded, a written contract, not an oral contract. So I just think that down deep inside, all four of them are buds. They're still buds from Birmingham,
It's
and,
business,
they just need to let everything go. They need to let it all go and just need to say, hey man, let's just play for the fans. Let's forget about our differences and let's just play for the fans, and I think that's the biggest thing that we want.
Yeah. And now talking about the 13th album, that they put out a couple years ago, I was curious, would you ever put any of those songs into Children of the Grave, or would you rather just stick to the original stuff they did?
Well, I've always wanted to expand off a little bit into the 90s, and the look, but still do some of the shows the way that they did their tour with the original four members, and there's some good music on 13, and I think that if the fans wanted it, I would put it in there and give it to them, No, I would, but we still want to, like I was talking to you earlier, Jason, about the costumes, and doing, larger sets, where it just be a full night of Children of the Grave, a full night of Black Sabbath, and go through the eras of costumes, because, they were wearing street clothes from 69 all the way to, 71 or so, and then around 72, 73, and the Sabbath Bloody Sabbath and all that, then they started to get more into the, the flowing clothes and the silk and the spandex or whatever, it started to change up their look of, even if you watch some of the California Jam stuff from 74 or whatever, you'll see Og in these, what were they, like yellow boots or something, and tucked into his pants, these tight pants, and things. So, they're starting to change their look and wear these, kind of bizarre clothing, and the flowing clothing, and I wanted to get into that realm later, but like I said, for the past 11 years, it's always been, the 69 to 70 look, and, the early look of the way they were. And the other thing I wanted to tell you about was, the original bass player, Rob, and I, we created 4 of the actual size crosses. So if you look at some of the photos from the Facebook page, it's
wow.
Facebook.com, Children of the Grave Sabbath,
Uh-huh.
and you go there and you see some of the pictures and things, and you'll see the crosses that we're wearing, and, you know, we were able to get the sizing from Ozzy's cross, you know,
Wow.
I made a template, and we made 4 of those, and those are part of the band. I have those, and those are part of the props that we use on stage, and also for photos and things after or before a gig, you know.
Wow.
We have photographers that won't take pictures or whatever, so the crosses really add.
Yeah,
A lot
yeah.
of people have told me, you know, there's so many tribute bands out there, and they have all these different kind of crosses and things, and there's a picture of Black Sabbath that you'll see from, I think, 1970, where they're sitting against,
Yeah.
the one where they're sitting against the fence or whatever,
Yeah.
and they all have the same crosses on. So that's what the look I was going for, that era, you know, that 70 look. And, you know, what I had heard was that back in 69 or 70, that Ozzy's father made crosses for them and wanted them to wear those crosses to ward off evil.
Wow, yeah. And so, yeah, I was curious, a little personal history on you, Jack. How old were you when you first started playing the guitar, and did you take lessons, or would you consider yourself to be a self-taught player?
I guess you could say I was self-taught.
Oh, cool.
I think at the age of 8 or 9, somewhere in there, I think I was watching some bands. Well, my older brother's band, watching him play, watching other bands play, or wherever it was, and just it was in my blood. I think, you know, I come from a family of, you know, of singers and musicians.
Wow.
So from the East Coast.
Okay, and I gotta ask you, what was the first Sabbath song you learned how to play?
Oh, the first Black Sabbath song I learned to play was Paranoid.
Oh, cool. And you know, wow. Yeah, that's a lot of people's, that's a lot of people's favorite song. Now, of course, a lot of people also criticize because they said it's kind of when Black Sabbath they thought was trying to sound a little more commercial. What were your thoughts on that?
I think that, you know, with it being under 3 minutes, and, you know, everybody on the 45s, you had to have a song that was under 3 minutes long and had to be 2 or 3 minutes. And so at 2 minutes and 52 seconds, you know, that's how long that's how long that song is. It was very commercialized in a way, but it's so simple that but it's to the point.
Yeah.
So where it's singing, to me, I love the vocals. I love the slapback echo that they created in the studio with that.
Yeah.
I love the, you know, just the intenseness of the tune. It was easy for me to learn as a kid.
Yeah.
You know, I think War Pigs was another one that I really went after. I really loved that song. That song's almost that song's like 7.5 minutes, almost 8 minutes long. And, you know, there are several Black Sabbath songs. I think most of them are like 4 to 5 minutes long, and there's some that are like 9 minutes.
Yeah, and I got to ask you. Yeah, another one of my favorite Sabbath tunes is Iron Man. Of course, it kind of had a rebirth when they released these Iron Man, comic book movies. But how hard of a song was that for you to learn how to play?
Oh, that song was very involved. The same as Fairies Wear Boots. But every song off of the Paranoid album, that was the song that got me into Black Sabbath back in the, in the 70s. And even all the way through the 80s and 90s, even when I was playing music in Hollywood in the 80s and doing, original songwriting with different people and things, it was always, the Paranoid album. I love the Black Sabbath album, the first album, and Iron Man, I love Iron Man. I love doing that song. I love the whole, layout of that tune. There's so much going on, and then it brings you back into it at the end, and then they go off and go on a spat of leads and bass and drums, and it's crazy, then listening to them in '71 when they changed, when Tony Iommi said, "Hey, let's tune the instruments down, and make it more darker sounding, and then they had Children of the Grave and the Masters of Reality, and everything changed after '70. First few albums were really snappy, just really snappy stuff, And
and what did you?
The Paranoid album,
And Sabbath, who's this, they're supposed to be this real heavy metal band. What did you think, when you heard that they had brought, Rick Wakeman from Yes in to play keyboards? How did that go over with you?
I've always been, an old school Sabbath, listener. I like to keep an open mind, but when you start adding keys to Black Sabbath, it just, to me, it just didn't sound like Black Sabbath anymore. I guess I was used to the hard and heavy sound of Black Sabbath, and when you listen to, I think the sixth album, Technical Ecstasy, and you listen to some of the tunes off of there, I wasn't really into it. I think I got out of Black Sabbath after the Sabotage album, '75. With Hole in the Sky, and Some of the Universe, and those tunes, it was still heavy and hard and snappy and fast. And Name of Technical Ecstasy, and I guess I just went, this isn't what I really want to listen to. So the keys were they were smart.
Yeah.
Putting it in there. Like when you listen to Dirty Women, for instance, you can hear the organ in Dirty Women.
Yeah.
But you can play that song without the keyboards in it, and it sounds great.
Yeah.
But, the keys are there. Rick Wakeman, was a great keyboard player, and Yes.
Yeah.
When Tony Iommi recruited him to play keys, it was just a different feel for me, I guess.
Yeah.
I was just like, whoa. Okay.
Yeah, because I definitely, I guess it depends on the band, but I definitely think, keyboards definitely have a place in rock music. I mean, Deep Purple being a greatest example of that. And I was just going to say that when you're talking earlier, I've seen video footage of that California Jam, and I think the best two bands that were on that bill were Deep Purple and Sabbath. I've seen a lot of the Deep Purple stuff, and they just killed it. But I wish Sabbath would put some of this stuff out, like on DVD or something. It would be just a cool thing for the fans to have.
John Lord, rest his soul. He's my mentor for keyboard.
Yeah.
I play other keys on the side, but I mean, the way that John Lord played the keyboards was like playing guitar on keys.
Yeah.
He had that just had a sound that went with Ritchie Blackmore, and I think that heavy sound and distorting the sound of his keyboard to make it sound like guitar, and still he was playing keys. I mean, even when he played with Whitesnake, he was a little more reserved. Remember when he was playing in the late '70s?
Oh yeah.
With the early Whitesnake.
Yeah.
After he, left Deep Purple, but I mean, it was like, wow, okay, this is kind of a reserved Bill Ward here for Deep Purple, for Whitesnake.
Yeah.
But I so loved his keyboard playing. He was such a loss to see him go. But you know what? We lived through his music. We lived through his music forever. And
yeah.
He's just a monster. He's just a monster on keys.
I mean, I agree. He's like the ultimate keyboard player for me. He's the godfather, as they say. May he rest in peace. But we were talking earlier about how a lot of people criticize the song "Paranoid." Well, I think I agree with you. It's a really great tune, and I have no problem with it. Talk about going pop on the kind of opposite side. You take a song like "Changes," which I think is a great tune. I kind of dig the song personally myself. But for a lot of Black Sabbath fans, it's like first time they heard that, wow, Black Sabbath, a ballad, wow. What were your thoughts when you heard that song for the first time?
But that song goes back for Ozzy solo-wise, because Ozzy was in the studio at the time, and he was just playing around, and he was thinking about all these things that was going on in his life, So I don't recall anybody else in the studio at the time. I know that some of them would be there, maybe not ready, and so I think if you look at some of the pictures of him put the headset on, and he's sitting there at the piano, and he just goes off on a on a ditty really, and he's doing changes, and for me, I'm not really into that tune, but when I that's Ozzy, what he was feeling at the time, so they put it on the album. But,
and I will say this, interestingly enough, because like I said, I'm not knocking the tune. I kind of personally like it myself, but I know a lot of Sabbath fans kind of had that feeling, but it's kind of interesting too. It's kind of interesting too that it's kind of interesting too that even here in 2015 as we talk, to me it stood the test of time. I mean, it doesn't really sound dated. It sounds like it could have been a power ballad from the 80s if you didn't know who did it.
No, I think you really have to put yourself in Ozzy's shoes for a moment.
Yeah.
And you say, okay, I see what he's doing there, and I think if more people would think about, hey, looking inside the box instead of outside of the box or whatever, and just saying, oh, I see what he's doing there, he's really letting out a lot of emotion that was going on in his life at the time, or maybe his things that happened in his life earlier or whatever, and so he's just letting it loose, and a lot of times, I remember doing the same thing sometimes in the studio, where it was working with the original band or whatever, and I was the only one there, and I just was working on something like that, and recorded it. But, I don't know of any bands, tribute bands that have ever done changes in a show. I know that it's more of a kind of a song that is, something it's a personal feeling, I think, and I don't know how it would go over in the show, but we've never done it, I think Fairies for Boots is like one of my favorite tunes off the Paranoid album, it has a lot of, jazz and blues and rock mixed together in it, and it really gets the audience going, as well as Vortex, but, with Paranoid, that was like the only tune they had that was like super commercial, but you know what, Iron Man and Paranoid are still on the top of the charts. If you listen to on the radio, they're still playing them,
That's it's amazing.
Of course,
and then of course, it's amazing. Of course, I was interested. Were you at all a fan of any of the stuff they did with Dio, or were you primarily just an Ozzy fan?
It's funny you should ask, because I never was really a super fan. I don't want anybody to kill me for this.
Yeah.
I wasn't really a fan of Ronnie James Dio going off with Black Sabbath, and being Black Sabbath with Ronnie, it was always Ronnie James Dio and Tony Iommi, and he's a butler, I mean, they had Vinny on drums, and they didn't have Bill Ward, so it was like, I don't know how it could be called Black Sabbath, but some of the people from the 80s, that don't remember Black Sabbath in the 70s, then they would think that is Black Sabbath. But, I love Ronnie's voice. I loved him when he was in his solo project with Vivian Campbell. I love Dio. I love Holy Diver. I mean, I love that era. The Last in Line. Those songs.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of a hard thing to.
Rock.
Yeah, it's.
President Hill rocks, Jason. That song rocks. I mean, it does.
Yeah.
Ronnie did a great job singing in Sabbath, even towards the end of his career before he passed away. That's the soul. But he was a great singer in whatever band he was in.
Yeah, the thing about it is they're two different bands, as you're saying, and we could talk all day about if it should have been called Black Sabbath or not, but the thing for me is this. Okay. Most people, when they talk about Black Sabbath, they either talk about the Ozzy years or the Dio years, and I think the simple reason is, I did like some of the stuff they put out in the 80s, but like you said, that was more like Tony Iommi's solo band. They should have called it something else. But the thing with Dio was, he was a star in his own right, and I think when he joined Sabbath, I mean, there wasn't a guarantee that the next album, Heaven and Hell, was going to be as huge as it was. I mean, they could have got Ronnie Dio in there, and the band could have just flopped. But see, he was a great songwriter too in his own right, and he kind of took the band to a different level. But that's the thing too. If you stop and think about it, people typically, are fans of Ronnie or Ozzy, or sometimes both.
When I listen to Ozzy's voice, I've been listening to Ozzy's voice for a long time, and I put him in the same realm as early AC/DC with Bon Scott.
Yeah.
Both of those guys were not really considered singers, quote unquote. They were guys that just had a natural feel. They weren't trained how to sing.
Well,
Ronnie was a trained singer. He was not he had opera experience, and he just had that operatic vibrato in his voice, that was really strong, and when I listened to Bon Scott of AC/DC, the early '70s AC/DC, and I listened to Ozzy, I hear a real kind of a mysterious, a cynical way of singing.
Yeah, I mean,
is kind of unorthodox.
I mean, to me,
way.
Yeah, Ozzy was, as you say, he fit the part. He was the perfect singer for Black Sabbath. I don't know that he could have left and went and sang for a band like, Deep Purple, or something like, or even Rainbow or something like that. But he had the perfect voice for what Sabbath was doing, and that's why he fit that's even why when he went solo, I don't know if he hadn't hooked up with Randy Rhoads, and those other guys in his solo band, Tommy Aldridge and Rudy Sarzo, I don't know that he would have been as successful. Because again, like I said, he's a very smart guy. Even when he has gone solo, he surrounds himself with guys that are great songwriters, guys that very talented musicians, and that's why when you listen to Ozzy albums and you listen to Sabbath, they're two different worlds too. It depends on who he's playing with.
That's right, and there's always going to be Iommi. There's always going to be Tony. And if you look at the list of musicians he's had in Black Sabbath, you just go, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
But like for me, it goes back to the early '70s when it was the original Four Gents band. And that's it really. For me, I mean, we could go on all night.
Yeah. And the last thing before we kind of wrap it up, that I kind of wanted to ask you about is, like you said, he's worked with a lot of great musicians over years, and even outside of Sabbath, he's put out some solo albums. One of my favorite was one I think he put out like around 2005, which was with Glenn Hughes. It was called Fuse or something like that. And then he did another one a couple years before that. I forget what it was called, but he had like Phil Anselmo and different singers on each track. Did you get a chance to hear any of those albums? And I was kind of curious what your thoughts were on each of them.
Was that one called Iron Cross or something?
Something like that. I have to look it up for you, but there was one where he had different singers.
I went on Wikipedia, because I wanted to see just how many albums they really did, and I'm only was really concerned with the first 7, really, with the Ozzy era up to Never Say Die. I saw all these different musicians, working with Tony Martin and Glenn Hughes, and he worked with Ian Gillan and did Born Again, and that one didn't do so well, that album. And so I mean, there were things he was trying out, I guess, and but it wasn't really my cup of tea, really.
Yeah. I mean, Glenn Hughes, he has a great voice. I don't really think you could go too wrong with him as far as
voices.
But Jack, I got to tell you, Jack, that it took us a while for one reason or other. We kept missing each other, but I'm glad we finally got a chance to do this interview. The interview's really come out even better than I anticipated. And like I was telling you, maybe down the line I'd like to talk to you again, about a couple of things. I mean, I was thinking next time it'd be cool to talk about, since you're telling me Paranoid's your all-time favorite Black Sabbath album, maybe we could talk a little more in detail about that. But it's really been great talking to you, and I really encourage you to keep me up to date on all your projects. I'd love to help you promote any of them, especially when you get Jack Sabbath. I think that's a great little thing you have in the works for people. So please keep in touch, and I'll let you know the minute the interview goes up. Is there anything else you'd like to say before we wrap this up?
I appreciate that, and I appreciate the opportunity, having you interviewing me with Children of the Grave and Jack Sabbath, and of course my original band 120 Pain, coming up. I'm I'm finishing up some recording on that. So I just want to say thank you so much, and I'm glad we're we'll keep in touch. And,
yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, and then like I was telling you earlier, just before I let you go, that I do write for this other online magazine, Chaotic Riffs. I'll send you the link for that when I'm done here, and you can check it out. But I would like to talk to you at another date about the. You said it's called 120, the original project. I really because that's a huge. That's
120 pain. It's 120 decibels of ear-piercing pain.
Wow, that's a great name. And to see just one thing I want to leave you, Jack, with is that's the thing we do here. It's great to help you promote Children of the Grave, which is a great tribute to Black Sabbath. But I'm all into wanting to spread the word about everything you do. So please keep in touch, and I think you're going to be a great new friend here. So I appreciate talking to you, and you have a nice rest of the day.
Well, you do the same there, Jason, and I certainly thank you again from the bottom of my heart.
Okay, thanks so much, buddy. I'll be in touch. Take care. Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.